What's going on, guys? I have a cinematronics monitor that I want to get fixed for my ripoff. So I happened to find this one. I had the original monitor is a different revision, but I like the ones with the Keltron high voltage box better. They just seem more dependable, more reliable to me. The high voltage side, at least. Now, this chassis blows the breaker. So the first thing I did, and the first thing I always do when a cinematronics monitor blows the breaker, is check the bottle cap transistors on the heatsink on the side. And I did find a bad one, and just to verify it, I have a resistor right here. Can you see it inside there between the connector and this resistor? That's actually burned up. And that's a telltale sign of a shorted out transistor on your heatsink. So I'm going to go ahead and replace this guy, but it does test good. But anyways, after that I plugged it back in, and we're still blowing the breaker. So let me tell you guys, I'm going to change some parts here, and I will show you some common things to do when your monitor blows the breakers. The first thing you're going to want to do, well, you should do this on any cinematronics monitor. I strongly suggest it. Replace your 7815, replace your 7915, and replace your 7805. Now, these are actually voltage regulators, okay? There's a few more things. If you happen to have a revision of this monitor that has the big metal high voltage box right here with a flyback transformer sticking out, you should also replace the 7818 and the 7918. Those are positive, negative 18 volt regulators. Okay, so these are just regulators. Okay, so I happen to have these brand new. These are the three regulators that this uses. If one of these regulators goes bad, it can short full voltage to your circuit, which would cause. See, the way this is working is you have positive and negative 15 volts, and the transistor is supposed to sit somewhere in the middle. Okay, at about zero, at a state of rest. And if one of these voltages is wrong, is too high, the transistors will swing one way and cause your bottle cap transistors on the side of the monitors to just basically be stuck on until the breaker blows. So it's important to get your power supply area first. I said it before and I'll say it again. I love this old ass Pace desoldering iron. Works beautifully. I do happen to have a very tiny tip on the end though, but that's fine. I actually like hey, see how that's loose? Can you see it already? Okay, so I'm gonna flip this sucker around and see here, 79. Where is it? Oh, another thing I suggest you do is there's different variants of these voltage regulators. Now, the ones that came with it are the first generation. Okay. Now, some of these have the letter C at the very end, which means okay. Let me say it this way. These are 1 amp regulators. Okay, and if you have a 7815C or 7915C or 7805C, that means these will handle 1.5 amps. So that's always a good thing. So in case something fails on the board, it may have less of a chance of taking these out with it. But let me go ahead and stick. Hold on. I just can't read these little things. 7805. 7815. Okay. keep picking up the 7805 over and over and over. No. So now I'm going to remove this 7805. And one thing that's important is that you use heatsink compound when you reapply this. It's not drastically important in this circuit, but in general you should put heatsink compound on any transistor that originally had it. It's mounted to a heatsink, period. Ah, you hear that? My tip is clogged. Okay, that's a little better. I'm not surprised it was clogged because I left this thing on for hours and just forgot about it. If you leave it on for so long, the flux and whatever that was on the solder kind of builds up in the tip and just, you know, clogs it up. Okay. Damn it. Lost my 7805. There we go. Okay, so I soldered that in, and I'm going to add a little bit of my heatsink compound to this. Just a tiny little dab. You barely need to put it on. A lot of people put way too much on their transistors. Yep, that'll do it. Okay, now let me, this isn't necessary, but I have them handy, so I might as well do it. But it's 7406 right here, which controls your intensity. I'm going to go ahead and replace that. It is one of those parts that's kind of a common issue. I still got to cut these leads off for the regulators. Another thing to mention is this this monitor is covered in 1N4003 diodes, and that's fine. But if you find any that are bad, replace them with 1N4004. It's a much beefier diode. Also, I suggest. Now the diodes on there are going to look something like this, okay? If you see them in this package, in other words, look like this, there's a good chance they're fine. I mean, test them anyways, but if you see the glass ones, they're made of glass in the middle, I've had bad luck with those on this monitor, so if you happen to see them, just get a whole bunch of 404s. They're 4004s. They're dirt cheap. But, let's flip this sucker over. Don't have anything to pry it with and handy here, so let's just see if I could wiggle it. There we go. Oh, let me see if I can find a socket. I don't want to go upstairs and find the sockets, so screw it. I'm going to go ahead and put this new 7406 in. Oh, bam, popped right in. And I still don't have anything to pry with, damn it. Unprepared. You know, as of 2 days ago, I just like, I'm in my basement right now. I just kind of like threw a table here, and you know, I worked on like 2 things here so far. I need to, I want to work on stuff down here because I work on stuff everywhere. And I need to kind of make it one localized area. So And my wife loves it, you know. Here, I got a trackball PCB here. There we go. That'll work. Now, I'm pulling this chip. This will cause your breaker to blow. This is an LF1331. Oh, I do have them here. Yep. Now this acts like a switch. Okay? Multiple switches. Now, when these are brand new, the legs are kind of opened up a little bit. And so what I do is, I lay it sideways on the board in a flat spot, and I kind of gently bend it until they look somewhat straight. Okay, so got that one out. Oh, and keep in mind the location of pin 1 on your chips when you put them in. And what I mean is pin 1 on, let's say this chip, is over here. This pin right here. And there's usually a marking on the top. This one's kind of faint. Right here is by pin 1. Or it'll be a notch on this side. So when you pull a chip, make sure that notch is going the same way as, you know, as the one you pulled. Okay, so let me solder these suckers in. Okay, so that's all soldered in. Another important thing to look at. Now, you know, if you look at some of my other videos, I kind of already showed you some of this stuff. I'm just doing this, and you know what? I'm going to roll the camera while I'm doing it. Okay. That light is right. There we go. One good idea is to reflow these joints, and these joints. Okay. And a few cases, this is, and it's possible for this to actually blow your breaker too. But in a very few cases, I've worked on a lot of these boards now, but I've seen a couple of these that were broken. And it's possible. So get a magnifying glass and just look it over while you have it out in your lap, you know what I mean, or looking at it. If you want to, go over it anyways, you know. Some people, right now I'm kind of shotgunning this because first off, I don't see a problem. Oh, also don't forget to reflow this. This is where your Keltron plugs into if you have a similar model number chassis that can, you know, it's the same as that. Some don't have that plug. But anyways, some people have problems with shotgunning stuff. But and when I say shotgunning, I'm talking about replacing a bunch of stuff all at once with new stuff, with new parts. But I have no problems at all about doing these things that I'm showing you right here, because they are all common parts that are prone to failure. Now, I'm not rebuilding this just yet. I just want to get this working. But another good idea is to replace this cap right here and replace this cap right here. Okay. Now, I have never seen either of those caps ever go. Ever. And I've worked on a lot of these now. But honestly, whenever you see a cap, replace it. Oh, I'll tell you some other caps that are common problems on this chassis. You see this? See this little blue capacitor? This one, this one, this one. Oh, sorry, I said blue. These are green. What am I talking about? Here's another little green one right here. There's no problems replacing those because these are tantalum capacitors, and they often explode for no reason. especially if let's say a machine sat in a warehouse for many years, and you first power it on, boom, they blow. Same thing as you know. There's a very similar problem with some of the Midway card rack systems are also that way. Those stupid tantalums. I will make a suggestion for you. Whoa! Look at this! Look at this! I just noticed that. That's a blown cap. Anyways, I was just about to make a suggestion, and here it is. This is a 2.2 microfarad tantalum capacitor, and there's one right here also. And what that is it's kind of like a filter for your plus and minus 15 volts. Now this 2.2, you can replace it with a 2.2, but I usually throw, you know, like a 10 microfarad in there in its place. I mean, it's a filter cap. You might as well have it filter better than it was originally. But yeah, let me dig up some capacitors and let's replace those guys. Okay, I kind of just reached into the parts bin and I found two 4.7 microfarad caps at 160, and that'll work just fine in this situation. Keep in mind, you can't just oversize any old cap you want. If it's in a power supply, yes, you can oversize it to some degree, depending on the circuit. In some cases, if you oversize a capacitor too much in a power supply, you can blow the fuse when it starts up. You know what I mean? So keep in mind, you know, don't just oversize anything you want, because it's not always a good idea. But yeah, also, now there's a general rule of thumb that you hear a lot, and it's true to some extent, but that you can replace a capacitor as long as the voltage is the same or higher. That's true. But one thing that's a little wrong about that is, let's say, okay, like this is, for example, 160 volts. That's way up there, right? Well, if you let's say it's rated for 160 volts, and I'm going to put it in a circuit that only handles 35 volts, or in this case 15 volts. Okay, so this will actually be charged to 15 volts instead of 160 volts. So what's the big deal? Big deal, right? No big deal. Well, it does change the value since you did that. This is rated at, let's say, 100 volts to be 4.7. But once you put 15 volts to it, this might be 4.2 microfarad or something like that under load. You know what I mean? So it does change the capacitance a hair. So I wouldn't suggest putting a 1,000 volt capacitor in electrolytic. I wouldn't suggest putting a 1,000 volt electrolytic in place of a 12 volt electrolytic. Or, you know what I mean? I mean, I wouldn't go that extreme, but what's the word? In the majority of everything, it's okay. But don't go way out, way extreme. Okay, let me desolder these guys. Oh! I just touched the soldering iron. I'm looking at the camera, and so I reach over to flip this, and I touched the soldering iron right there. Gotta love it. Okay. Flip this guy. I still need to clip these regulator leads, but I kind of don't want to walk upstairs because I'm gonna go upstairs anyways. But okay, let's pull these guys. You know what? I'm getting clogged again. I think it's time. It's time for a new tip. It's time. Where'd I put those bastards? There we go. Yeah, I need to change it. I got my brand new tip installed. No more clogs. Okay. Okay. Let me flip this guy over. Also, if you notice on capacitors, there's one lead that is longer than the other. See that? That's going to be the positive lead. There's also usually a marking right here for negative. That's going to be the shorter lead. Make sure to take note when you remove your capacitors, because it could. What was I going to say? Oh, there may not be marking on the board. Now I didn't desolder this one good enough. Kind of figured. So I'm going to dip some solder in a little bit of flux and goober that up a little bit. And let's try this again. Okay. It's loose, there we go. But honestly though, the tantalums on this board are garbage. I just want to see a screen at this point, so I'm kind of doing what I'm doing. Get in there, you bastard. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and finish soldering this up. I'm going to cut the backs of those. You know what? Let's do that now. Now, see this tool? Get one. It's beautiful. Okay, I'm going to cut this crap off here. Well, let me finish soldering this up and let's test it out. I think I'm going to have my wife hold the monitor while I plug it in because the monitor kind of slides off. But yeah, let me solder this up and test it out. Okay, I am holding this monitor. It's just kind of sitting in this cabinet right now. Okay, Kelly, plug it in, see what happens. See any smoke?
No.
You sure? You sure? Keep watching.
Yeah, I'm sure, I'm watching.
Okay. Yeah, buddy!
Working.
Yes.
Awesome.
It's in test mode. We're gonna have to look up the dip switches to get out of test mode.
No problem.
Awesome! Yes, so that means we're gonna have another vector in the vector collection. But before I do that, let me let's replace the caps and stuff, and let's just go over it. Replace random stuff. Just kind of freshen it up. Can you hold this? I want to let go for a second.
Yeah, go ahead. I got it.
Okay. One thing I should mention in this video is, if I get a clean spot. Now, the revision, see, that's a Keltron monitor, and I ended up putting something like this on it. Now, this was on earlier cinematronics monitors. These also will blow your breakers. So, make sure you test these. Now, a couple ways to test this is to first off test each transistor, and then test from the metal of the case of the transistor to the heatsink. Make sure the heatsink is not actually electrically, touching this. Okay, make sure they have to be definitely insulated. But oh god, that was a great thing. Yeah, I still from the last video, which was just a couple days ago. Still kind of a mess in here. But, oh, yeah, I love that feeling. It works. Well, if you guys like the videos, have a nice day and subscribe.